Canada has a new liberal leader. Let me say that again. Canada has a new liberal leader, and they got rid of Justin Trudeau. I didn't think that y'all would do it. I honestly did not think that y'all would do it, but they telling me that Canada did it, and we going to find out what's going on, all right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel with turning your notifications. Let's rock.
All right, members of Canada's ruling Liberal Party have elected a successor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Economist Mark Carney won the race, taking nearly 86% of the votes. Now, Carney served as the head of the Bank of England before returning home to do the same in Canada. And this all comes amid the chaotic trade war with the U.S., as we've been discussing. CBS News senior White House and politics correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now from the Canadian capital of Ottawa. Ed, in his acceptance speech, Mark Carney said, quote, "In trade, as in hockey, Canada will win." It was a pretty boisterous speech. What does his victory mean for relations with the U.S.?
Boisterous and ominous at times as he warns of dark days amid this trade war that has been started by President Trump. It is completely unclear, Errol, exactly how he plans to proceed for a few reasons. One, he's not yet prime minister. We expect him to become head of Canadian government later this week. It takes a few days to get him set up to do so. And at that point, then, we may start to get a better sense of how exactly he plans to engage with the Trump administration. But he and his fellow party members made clear this talk of Canada having to buckle to American economic pressure or even become the 51st American state is a non-starter for them. And they hinted that if it means seeking alliances or economic cooperation in other parts of the world, they will do so. This relationship, has had its tests. Several party members alluded, for example, to the Iraq War earlier this century and the big disagreements between the United States and Canada about that. This is obviously a lot sharper, but it's been somewhat personal between the president and outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So there is a chance here potentially for a reset with Mark Carney, who, as you said, was an economist, former heads of the banks of Canada and England, never been a politician before, and easily held on to now lead the Liberal Party as they seek to hold on to power with a general election that could be held as early as this month, but has to be held by October, the way the rules work here. Errol.
They're saying that this guy is liberal, that he's a part of the Liberal Party of Canada. That can't bode well. Impossible for that to be able to bode well. But one of the things that I will applaud Canada for, actually a couple different things. The first thing that I'll applaud Canada for is for getting rid of Justin Trudeau and forcing him to resign, because that guy is absolutely trash. We never respected him. We looked at him as more feminist. He actually was advocating for Kamala Harris to win the president of the United States of America, and for good reason, I would guess, because it was easier for them to take advantage of what's going on inside of the United States of America. At least that's what I think his advisors was probably saying to him. But congratulations on getting rid of Justin Trudeau. Congratulations. Now, the second thing that I'll congratulate you guys for is actually going with somebody that's outside of the establishment. Somebody that's not a traditional Democrat or Republican, or in your words, liberal or conservative, or that's a part of party politics as usual. We did the same thing here in the United States of America. We did the same thing in the United States of America. Oh, trust me, I'm going to get to that shortly. Rise Up Basketball. Whenever you're trying to talk to people, you got to build them up before you give them some accountability. All right? This is one of the things that you guys have to learn in your households or in business. You never just hit somebody with the ooh-wop shebang. Bam. You never do that. We like our Canadians. We like the people that's up north. We love them. And so before you start to hold them accountable, you have to first find 2 or 3 good things to say about somebody before you start holding them accountable for the things that they do. But I have to applaud them first for getting rid of Justin Trudeau. That's the first thing. The second thing is they went with somebody that's outside of party politics. However, he is still super liberal. He is a climate activist. I did do a little bit of research on him. And so what Canadians effectively did, what you guys deserve, what's coming to you, What Canadians effectively did, I know he ran the Bank of England. We're going to get there. What Canadians effectively did was they brought in somebody that's probably even more liberal than the outgoing prime minister. You know what this is the equivalent of? Us in the United States of America, we like to say this is just like getting rid of Lori Lightfoot and bringing in Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Yeah, you guys were disgusted with Lori Lightfoot because she was a DEI hire and she was no good. And, you know, she brought in all of her liberal policies and she was one of the architects of embracing the sanctuary city status of Chicago. And she decided that she wanted to, lean more into diversity, equity, and inclusion and completely destroy the streets of Chicago. And then Brandon Johnson, y'all say, oh, we discussed it with Lori Lightfoot and y'all want to get rid of her. And then Brandon Johnson came in and he was 10 times worse than Lori Lightfoot. This is effectively what Canada did. So in these instances, I like to say, even though I love you guys, I love the people, I don't love the mindset of the people and the things that y'all decide that y'all want to rock out with. I don't love the mindset. I don't. I think that it's stupid. It's dumb. Why would you elect somebody that's even more far left than the person that you just got rid of? So you want more of the thing that you actually despise. Okay.
Yeah, and that Trump-Trudeau relationship goes all the way back to Trump's first presidential term. So this certainly new and uncharted territory. Ed O'Keefe, great to see you this morning. Thanks very much. Let's dig into this a bit more now with Brian Pasifume. He's a national politics reporter at the Toronto Sun and also joins us from Ottawa. You're inside, so you're avoiding all that snow outside your window, which is smart. So we're talking about Mark Carney here. His claim to fame is his navigation of the '08 financial crisis as a central banker, but so much of him is unknown to Americans. So why was he elected now?
Yeah, he's sort of an outsider, but he isn't. It's kind of hard to explain. The way that Canada's political system works is a lot different than the U.S. It's you guys have separate elections for prime ministers or for the president, but for us, the prime minister is the head of the party. He's not a politician. He's not elected. He still hasn't won a seat in the House of Commons. So yeah, he's been Justin Trudeau's financial advisor for probably the better half of the last half decade. But yeah, he's the real test comes. He's outside of the political world. He's not a politician. He doesn't have a seat. So
somebody said we didn't elect anything. He was selected. He was selected by the people that y'all elected in the office to select him. Your politics is very much a reflection of where you're at culturally and as a society. When you look at a city in shambles, or you say that the police department is broken, or there is no funding, or they got high taxes and all of this stuff, you can't just blame the politicians. You have to blame the people that elected them. So when I see something like, for example, when we was talking about Chicago or Dalton, Illinois, or you can say what's happening in New York or what's happening over in Los Angeles and all of these sanctuary cities over in Denver and stuff, and you see this stuff take place, and now we're talking about Canada because we're moving more international because of the tariffs, and that's incited this conversation. That's the people. It's a reflection of you guys. When we see that you guys are basically a socialist country and you have high taxes and you still have trash healthcare, well, then I have to blame the people because you're the ones that elected your leaders that then selected the people that's inside of office right now.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens, or even how long he's going to be prime minister, because as Ed mentioned, Canada's headed for a federal election probably sooner, probably later, but anytime between now and October.
So in many ways, it seemed like this is a stopgap moment for Canada. Help us understand then what we might expect from those upcoming elections, because for months, polls showed the opposition Conservative Party leading the Liberal Party, but now they're statistically tied, and we saw this result. So what's happening?
Say it's tied. I say they've really done a lot to close the gap. Justin Trudeau was sort of elected on a big fervor of Trudeau mania. People loved him.
Somebody said Canada does not have trash healthcare. What are you talking about? Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. I did a whole report where there are cities and towns that don't even allow for you to have a family care doctor because they don't incentivize privatization or more importantly, you guys pay so much in taxes that you don't have the ability to be able to pay outside of your normal healthcare coverage. And now it was a bunch of people that was lined up to get a primary care doctor to have preventative maintenance, not just hospital care. So yeah, you may not have a hospital bill when you go to the hospital because you have a socialist system and you have a communist-like system where everybody is taken care of allegedly, but at the same time, you're having funding issues. It takes a long time for you to be able to see a doctor. And most of y'all don't even have primary care physicians, depending on what the coverage is, because there's no incentive for them to open up doctor's offices in certain towns. So it's unfortunate that I know more about your healthcare coverage in your system because I've researched it than a lot of you do. You absolutely do. And y'all still have to have long waits inside of emergency and ER because you don't have the preventative care. So then people go into the emergency because they just getting regular stuff done because they don't have the ability to have a primary care physician that they visit on a regular basis. Absolutely, it is trash. 100% it is trash. 100% trash.
Loved his hair. They loved his handsome looks. That quickly tarnished. He's been embroiled in a number of pretty significant scandals. He's the only Canadian prime minister ever to be convicted of breaking ethics laws. So the Liberals' fortunes have just plummeted over the past few years, particularly lately with the cost of living crisis, that coupled with the trade war that you guys have launched against us. So right now the polls are sitting there about the Conservatives are about 10 points ahead.
I know I'm right,
which
JJ.
is a lot less than what it used to be. It used to be a huge gap. But with Justin Trudeau on his way out and Carney on his way in, the gap's closed. So really, the question remains: is what's going to happen? Is the Liberals going to call an election? Whoever is the prime minister in Canada has the power to dissolve Parliament anytime they like. So really, it's a numbers game right now. It's going to see how the Liberals think that they're going to do. Are they going to do better if they call the election now? Are they going to call it later? So exciting times going on in Ottawa right now. If you find this sorts of things exciting,
Yeah, never.
So it's funny though because as they bring in Mark Carney, who is going to be the new prime minister of Canada, which is a worse version of Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau was feminine, but he was weak. He bent the knee. He tried to stand strong based off of what that battery that they was putting inside of his back. But I mean, nevertheless, he was still trash. Right after that, China throws huge tariffs on Canada. Check it out. Hey, you can't make this up. Check it out.
Newsweek tariffs on some Canadian food imports effective March 20th. China's Ministry of Finance says these tariffs include 100% on rapeseed and pea products, as well as 25% on pork and some seafood imports. Last year, Canada imposed levies of 100% on Chinese electric vehicles and 25% on steel and aluminum from China. Well, that led Beijing to launch an anti-dumping probe into Canadian imports, and Beijing also filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization. Meantime, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is expecting 25% tariffs for steel and aluminum imports to take effect on Wednesday. Those tariffs were announced by President Trump last month, and they apply to imports from Canada and Mexico. However, Lutnick says these tariffs could be lifted if the flow of undocumented migrants and illegal drugs, including fentanyl, into the U.S. stops. Here is Lutnick speaking earlier to NBC's Meet the Press.
The president said, okay, I'll tell you what, if they're in the deal that we made, I'll keep it tariff-free. But for everybody who was outside that deal, who took the risk, who didn't pay attention and respect the agreements that President Trump made his first term, they're going to pay a 25% tariff. And that's sort of like meeting in the middle.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick there. Now, U.S. officials say the policy is aimed at cracking down on efforts by countries, including Russia and China, to bypass existing duties. Now, U.S. steelmakers have urged President Trump to resist exemptions to these tariffs, and now U.S. companies that use aluminum and steel are at risk of being hit. For more on the hour's top stories, let's go to Bloomberg's Dan Schwartzman.
As a potential government shutdown looms, House Republicans have announced a spending bill to keep government agencies open through September 30th, which could lead to a confrontation with Democrats. The bill would continue to allow the Trump administration to make cuts while slightly decreasing overall discretionary spending. Democrats and some Republicans have expressed reservations about some aspects of the bill, including defense spending, tax cuts, and the impact on federal agencies and programs.
So essentially, they like to highlight the fact that the United States of America is in a tariff war, a trade war, so to speak, but a tariff war with Canada and Mexico and China and all of these places, right? But in reality, what you're really experiencing is, and what they're not highlighting, is that Canada has their own problems on their own fronts from other places that they're doing business with, including China. So, this incoming prime minister will not only have to deal with the problems that came along with Justin Trudeau with the Trump administration, because Trump effectively, and although we know that they need to do more on their borders, the reality is that they also need to do more as far as protecting, and this is, I'm looking at it from the Canadians' perspective, they need to do more as far as protecting their industries, but they can't because it is a liberal country ran by liberal leaders, and they're overtaxed, and they have no ability to really be able to incentivize businesses to do business within Canada, especially when we are the ones that is their biggest trading partner and we are the biggest consumers. And so the minute that Trump decides that he wants businesses from Canada and Mexico to do more business inside of the United States of America, which in my opinion is really what this trade war is. It's to bring manufacturing, bring jobs, bring industries that can benefit the United States of America and its citizens with jobs and commerce back into the United States of America by putting pressures on them. Now, in this report, it did say that different industries are trying to get tariff exemptions, but Trump is resisting that. He did extend exemptions to the auto industry. He did extend exemptions and gave a little bit more of a timeline over in Canada and Mexico as they continue to acquiesce over to our demands. But what he's really trying to do is get them to say, listen, we want to build more plants. We want to build more industries. We want to sell the products that we sell inside of the United States of America. We want to manufacture it in the United States of America. And that is the real goal. That is the real driving force behind the tariffs that is happening inside of the United States of America. And we're going to get there shortly. But Canadians, the one thing that they're not talking about that I'm going to talk about here, right here on the Millionaire Morning Show, is the fact that you guys are facing additional tariffs from countries outside of the United States of America, what is pushing pressure on you guys, and it is going to possibly push you guys into a recession. So, with that being said, that means that you guys should either A, become the 51st state of the United States of America, which your incoming prime minister said that he's going to resist, or B, you need to give in and do the thing that Trump wants you to do. Those are your only two options. Honestly, those are the only two. And I know you got Canadian pride. I know y'all got a lot of hockey teams. I know you got the Toronto Raptors up there. We might as well bring the Toronto Raptors back in here. Where we gonna put it? Where we gonna put the Raptors at, y'all? Y'all want to bring the Raptors back inside of the United States of America? We thought about opening up a football team over there. We might as well bring the Raptors back inside of the United States of America too. I know a lot of Canadians, they come over when Toronto play here in Detroit because they can support their team and all of that. But all I'm saying is, it's better to give in. You know what I'm saying? All of that pride, all of that stuff that y'all got going on over there, that's not going to benefit you. That's not going to be best for you. Listen to Anton. Listen to Anton from AntonDaniels.com.